And good evening, everyone. And today, this topic, idiosyncrasy, we have some, isn't it? Each one of us, we have our own idiosyncrasy, isn't it? Sometimes you see people, this person is really weird. And then we were thinking that person weird, actually the other person think that we are so weird, isn't it? And sometimes things that is so important to us, it might not be important to the other person, isn't it? And some things that it seems that normal to us, people might think that it's abnormal. And things that it seems abnormal, to them it's normal, but we think that it's abnormal. But because we just come from different upbringing, different conditioning, because we've been conditioned that way. So that's why we have a different, that's why all the different culture, different upbringing, I remember when I first joined the monastery, and sometimes I couldn't make my head around. How had this person react in this way? I was thinking it's so strange, Then slowly went to understand the person upbringing, the person conditioning, and you really understand that why, that behave in a certain way actually is not right or wrong. And sometimes that because of we being brought up in that way, we think that this is right. So if other people behave indifferently, we think that they are wrong. So my one is the right one. My one is ultimate, Then because we already have very ingrained that belief system. So we already developed the particular views, how we view things. And this is all because of the perversion of our perception. So actually perception is in the beholder of our own eyes, isn't it? Each one, we look at the same thing. I can guarantee you, 10 people look at same thing, you have 10 reaction towards the thing, isn't it? Because of your different experience, come from different experience, that we've been conditioned. So we have a different perception, how we perceive things, is very, very subjective, and based on individual upbringing, individual likes and dislikes, So sometimes how we perceive things is also very much perverted by our likes and dislikes. And this is how, when our perception actually we are not perceiving things purely. So what we perceive is already colored, already banned, is already perverted by our likes and dislikes. So whatever we see, we are not seeing things as they really are. So that is we have the perception. So that where is the contact? Feelings arises. So either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. So whenever there is pleasant feelings, we have the likes, this is good. So we started to identify this is good, and then we got attached to that. So this is how we start to label our experience. This is good, and when there's unpleasant feelings, we start to label this is as bad, And actually, unpleasant feelings not necessarily is really bad. Pleasant feeling is not necessarily is good, isn't it? Sometimes we become greedy, we cannot get what we want. Of course, we are unpleasant because sometimes maybe someone says something that is a bit nasty, and then we start to label that person as bad. But the person might not actually what you think the person is, because sometimes that moment the person might be going through a lot of difficulties in life, a bit grumpy, and maybe you can ask the friends that the person, the friends might be said that this person is a wonderful person, but so happen that moment that person maybe is not in a good mood, or maybe the person stepped at you, then you started to send that person into life imprisonment. This person is really nasty, this person is bad, and we put all sorts of label onto that person. And then we develop a certain views of things, and then these views, we carry into our stream of consciousness. Then next time when we see that person, we automatically have that reaction, maybe have aversion, dislike that person because of the previous experience. But because of, whenever we are in the similar situation, we've been triggered. Like for example, like sometimes people like being bitten by a dog. So when they see dog, they have lots of fear. But other people see dog, they might say, wow, it's so cute, so nice, that they like it, other person, the dog lovers, they say, oh yeah, and the person being bitten by dog is really scared. We have someone, have really phobia, jumping up and down. She really, whenever she see dogs, in a monastery, she really so scared, she really jump onto the bench, jump onto the chair. When I asked her, why have you bitten by a dog? She said no, but she just don't know why. She's afraid of dog. So sometimes, all this might not be in this life. Sometimes also we don't know why we react to certain things in a certain way. We can't even tell why we do that, isn't it? And sometimes some people said to me, no, I don't know why. When I was young, I'm okay. I haven't had that kind of trauma, that kind of the experience, but I just have like panicking attack, anxieties, I don't know why, and because, as a Buddhist, we believe in rebirth, that it brings with us from a previous life. It's just like my niece, one of my niece. And she's also never bitten by a dog, but she's really, really scared of dog. She really jumping up and down, screaming. So I said, why are you afraid of dog? But we keep telling her it's okay. And then slowly now she's okay. She overcome that fear. So we slowly said, you touch and see it's okay. And now she's okay with dog. And then over a period of time, we keep telling her that it's okay, and then slowly she overcome her fear whenever she see dogs. And this is all, because of our different conditioning, that's why we develop a certain views, how we view things. And sometimes the scary part of when we develop a certain views, sometimes the views can become very solid and concrete. And then we attach to our views. So the stronger the sense of self, the bigger ego that we have, our views becomes really concrete, isn't it? And we can't listen to anyone, isn't it? Whatever who tell, you just because into your belief system, this is what you believe. And it's just like, like those terrorists, they've been conditioned, they've been brainwashed since they were young. So they really believe that they're doing something good because into the belief system. So this is sometimes when we have the more understanding of the conditioning, sometimes we can see that's actually because they've been brainwashed, they've been conditioned that way, actually they are also the victims, And sometimes we have people complaining about the parents, how they've been brought up, and and there's being abused and things like that. But sometimes when we have the counseling, it's always when you started to talk to them, you can trace back. Actually, the parents abuse them. Actually, the grandparents abuse them, and then you can just this is how, because we can only do what we know, isn't it? Because this is how they've been brought up. And then the same thing, they will repeat what the parents did, because this is what they know. They can only do what they know, isn't it? And they think this is the only way, and they develop that certain views and then into the belief system. That's why we usually hear people saying that seeing is believing. If I haven't seen it with my own eyes, I would not have believed it. But actually, it's the other way around. Believing is seeing. You believe, you see that. You can even feel it. I remember one of our devotees, and is one of our devotees, this is her own experience she shared with us. She said that on her way back, there's a place that the bikie having a fight, and then there was a bikie died. So and then whenever she go past that area, she feel a lot of eerie feelings, and she feels that this being, the being need loving kindness, need to give him loving kindness. So she been doing that whenever she go past. She always sending loving kindness and bring the Baiki into her mind and sending loving kindness to this being. She did that almost for 3 years. And then one day, when she read the newspaper, and she discovered that the Baiki actually still alive. But she can feel the beings needing it, because actually it's our own creation. Because if you keep thinking that, actually you reinforce. For example, you have the belief system that this is bad, and you feel that, she feel that. Then the more you think about it, actually you reinforce that. It becomes stronger. The feelings of, for example, you have certain, views about another person. You think the person is nasty, just because maybe in the past that person said something nasty to you. The next time, the moment you see that person, what pops in your mind? Nasty, isn't it? Then even the person don't do anything, you still think that the person is nasty. And then you start to think all the person behavior, what this person have done, go on and on. And then how do you feel? You feel more agitated, more angry, isn't it? The moment you see the person, you got upset. The more you think about it, it's more angry. This is how you reinforce. Your feeling becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. And that feelings, that then it's go into this. Your perception is, when you see the person, these feelings comes out and become stronger and stronger, and it's go into your views. How you reaffirm your views. Yes, this is true. This is how I feel. This person really terrible. This person irritate me. And then actually again we reinforce. So if we are not aware, so we will keep reinforce and reinforce. And this is how, especially people with that going through a lot of abuses when they're young, and this is how it's very difficult to come out of it, because it's very strong. And then you develop a very strong view. Especially the most scary thing is that when we attach to our views, it's become so strong and so concrete. And sometimes that is very difficult. Once we have that strong view, you don't listen to anyone. You are not receptive. You are not open. That's why sometimes that it's more scary that if someone has very strong views and they attach to their views, actually it's more scary than a killer. Angulimala, even though he's been killed so many people, he still got enlightened. Do you know what I mean? But because that you really blocked you can't see a thing. It's really blocked you. And your sense of self, if the bigger the ego is, really very difficult to really come out of it. You attach to your views. It's not that we shouldn't have views. That's why the first factor of the Noble Four Path, right views. It's not that we shouldn't have views, but we attach to our views become wrong views. Wrong. Right views. When we say right views, it's not that I'm right, you are wrong. It's right in the context that leads us to freedom, leads us to happiness. When we hold on to our views, sometimes, if people disagree with us, how do we feel? We got upset, isn't it? Even those who are doing the right thing. I remember one of our devotees, and he told me that, that he was being humiliated by his friends, thinking that being a Buddhist is really, stupid, why you keep this precept or you don't do this, And I say, it's okay, you know that what you are doing, but the whole world can argue with you. Make sure that you don't argue with them. But you're doing the right thing. Because what you do, that they give you lots of happiness. They give you with the non-remorse, and they lead you to peace. It's whatever. If just because the person disagree with you, then we got upset. then we are holding on to our views that this is right, isn't it? So whenever that leads us to suffering, anger, leads to unwholesome emotion, and this is wrong view, isn't it? Because it leads you to suffering. It's not right or wrong. So whatever that, leads us to freedom, happiness, then that is right view. If that leads us to suffering, then we attach our views. Because, we can notice, even with our own experience, isn't it? If like some people agree with us, they have the same views, we think that this is my friend, isn't it? Good friend. If people disagree with you, okay, you're against me, so you're not my gang, And sometimes, sometimes we have to, when someone disagree with you, sometimes we respect the person. We do not expect that you have to agree with me, And sometimes it's also quite dangerous that we associate with someone have the same defilements. Actually, then we reinforce each other defilements. And they say, yeah, right. And then you tell me, yeah, right. And then each other, we affirm that, yeah, right, And that's why sometimes that, yes, if people, disagree with us, you look at it, maybe there is a trace of truth in that, what the person said. But not to be really, become so conceited that, no, I know better, then, you will never come out of it because that the conceit, the ego is so big. And you know that you know better than anyone else, So, and then you think that, I'm as if that everybody idiots, Only I am the one who know everything, And the talk about idiots remind me of there was a genius, a confidence, a genius. He mixed a bet with an idiot. He said, "Hey, idiot," he said, "if I ask you any questions that you will not be able to answer, so I will give you $5. So any questions that you ask me, if I cannot answer, I give you 5,000. So the idiot said, "Okay, I agree with you." So the genius asked the idiot, said, "How many continents are there in the world?" So everyone know? How many continents in the world? No, 7. 7. So I'm genius, okay? 7. So the idiot can't answer that, He said, don't know. So he cannot answer. He don't know, and they gave him $5. So after that, the idiot said, "Okay, now my turn. Okay, I ask you, what animals stand with 2 legs, sleep with 3?" Okay, so this genius was think and such and think. He couldn't get he couldn't have the answer. He don't know what's the answer. The animals stand with 2 legs, sleep with 3. So he said, "Okay, he hand over 5,000 to the idiots." So then he said, "Okay, by the way, what is the answer?" Then the idiots gave him $5. So sometimes we think people is a fool, isn't it? We think that we are so smart, Then we think that we can outsmart others, and then sometimes those look like they just play dumb, They think that you think that they're stupid. Then you've been outsmart, And this is how, sometimes we think that we know better, and then we never come out of it, Really big ego, And also because this. Actually, the danger of that is very difficult. And no matter what you said, they're blocked off, they're not open. And it's very difficult to come out of it. And then into the belief system, they believe that this is right. And that's like the more concrete, like especially those, if the experience when the childhood experience that they've been abused, it's very, very difficult to come out, And then because most people don't know how to deal with it, especially go through the trauma. Because, like, for example, we have people go through divorce and going through, being abused and then going through divorce. And then she come and said to me, I have my psychologist said that I have obsessive compulsive disorder. I have this chronic fatigue syndrome, and I have this post-traumatic syndrome. And I said, forget about this labor. I said, you don't have to live up to that labor. It's just a labor. So I just said that it's just the cause and effect. As anyone were to go through what you have gone through, they will have the same reaction. It's just being human. But she think that something wrong with her. I have this, I have that, I said, it's just a cause and effect. Whoever go through the trauma. But that's why when all this, and if we don't know how to deal with our this emotion, especially negative emotion, especially go through trauma, abuses like that. And actually, if we are not skillfully to deal, not be able to deal with that emotion, actually sometimes we reinforce that, and it's become worse as we grow up. Because most people, how many people can really be able to deal with that skillfully? Not many. So most people, how they react, you either run away or you suppress, isn't it? Because it's unpleasant. Whenever we experience unpleasant feelings, we don't want to experience that because it's unpleasant. So we run away. We don't want to look at it. And we pretend that it's not there. Doesn't mean that you pretend that it's not there. It's not there. It's there. So sometimes people tend to go into using unskillful, being unskillful to deal with the emotion. Like sometimes, some people even got into drugs and alcohol, like self-harm, because sometimes they couldn't handle when that unresolved emotions pops up. And sometimes become so overwhelming that not be able to deal with it. So then sometimes people ask me, how come someone can harm themselves? I said, because the physical suffering is less than the mental suffering. So when they self-harm, they take the mind away. And then they give them that kind of relief because they couldn't handle. It's too intense. So much suffering. So you can see people use all sorts of ways, to deal with those unresolved, especially those negative emotion. And then you get addicted to that, because once you get relief from that, next time you want to do that because each time this gives you the relief. But this only treating the symptom, but not go to the root. It's just like you're bleeding, you just put a bandage, just give you a bit of relief. But that leads you to more suffering because you keep reinforce that. And the longer, the younger that you have those experiences and you keep reinforce that, it's very, very difficult to come out as they grow up. I remember there was I remember I read an article. There was a woman that she had a very strange behavior. She always have to put the headphones. She always constantly have to listen to something. Like she cannot take the headphone out of her. She always need to put the headphone on. So that and then she go to shower also. She have the waterproof one, to put it on. And then she have almost 300 headphone. So in the car she have headphone, everywhere she have the headphone. She constantly have to listen to something. And the daughter complaining one day isn't so strange. She went to the school and picked up her daughter. Like she's already arrived and the daughter was outside the gate waiting for her. She just walked out from the car. She just remembered her headphone. So she turned back. She wanted to get the headphone. I think she couldn't find a headphone and she drove a car to buy a headphone. After 2 hours, come back. And it's so weird, so strange, isn't it? And then, of course, the daughter's really upset with her, said that you are really abnormal. You are really crazy. What are you doing? And it's also dangerous that you put your headphone on all the time while you're driving, Because, she said, I couldn't find my headphone, so I have to go and buy another one. So she have to make sure that her headphone everywhere. She can pick up from everywhere, so that she cannot live without headphone. And then when she was interviewed, when it started off that you get into this habit. So she said, since after that there was an accident, that her husband and one of her daughter passed away. That trauma. And because of that, she listening to all this, she keep herself busy, occupied, actually takes her mind away from, that after the post-traumatic, that she have to go through that because it keep coming up. And she find this way to cope with, so that she be able to get on with life. This is how sometimes we get into certain habits, we use that as a way to cope with life, so that we be able to really cope with that mental suffering, so that we can continue to cope with our life, because we have to get on with our life. And she used this as a way. And then slowly she addicted to that, because each time when she listening to this, so she take her mind away from her mental suffering, because she keep herself occupied. And that's why sometimes people distract themselves by doing all sorts of things, so that when you occupy, when you distract your mind doing other things, so you will not think about this. But doesn't mean that it's still not resolved. You know what I mean? You've been running away, not to look at it. And actually you reinforce that. And then you develop in the habit. It's become a habit. And this habits become an addiction. Sometimes people think that you only addicted to drugs and alcohol. No. Sometimes people addicted to this, to certain behavior. Because very difficult to come out of it, It's just like any addiction is very difficult. And this is sometimes like, when we understand, and maybe at the beginning we think that, this person is weird, But if we really know the background, why the person behaved that way, then we really have the compassion towards that person, because the person couldn't cope, And one of the very common things that people get themselves distracted and deal with that unresolved negative emotion, like especially they go through trauma. And they become very obsessive. They do all sorts of things, And actually, and this obsessive, they call it this obsessive compulsive disorder, where you keep cleaning, people can't stop cleaning. Even they're very tired also, they still want to clean. And they can't stop themselves. And it's become like addiction. Right? It's just like, you have to have it, like alcoholic or drug addicts, And it becomes, and even sometimes you develop into phobia. Whenever this emotion come out, you really, this is coming. And we have phobia, So this is, we used to say OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Sometimes another, I have OCD, I want to finish this, So sometimes like we laugh, I say, yeah, because sometimes people so obsessed, like some people have everything, very obsessed with alphabetical order. I said, you can't even say OCD, you have to say CDO. You're so obsessed, Like last time, my OCD is things have to be balanced, If not balanced, I try to make it balanced, And this is how, But I mean, most of us somehow we have a little bit, but that is not serious. It's okay. I mean, we have bit of the kind of OCD, we got to finish off this thing, And that's right, and very difficult to come out of it. Especially if you don't know how to deal with that emotion, There's like it's very important that we deal with our emotions skillfully, not to reinforce, because actually not to run away, actually really to look at it. But to look at it is not easy, unless your mind is strong enough to be able to do that. You have to develop that, you know. There's like, even sometimes like phobia, you know, some people have this phobia. I remember there was another story that this woman had phobia. And she always, when she lie down on her bed, she constantly feel that there's something under her bed. So then she had to go and see a psychiatrist, and then the psychiatrist said, "Okay, yes, you know, it's very rare that people have this kind of phobia, you know, worry about things underneath. So, but you know, I still can help you, but you have to have at least, you know, 8 sessions, you know, and then." Each session you have to pay about $80 per session, you know. Then it's quite a fair bit of money. So then after that, okay, so I will go back and discuss with my husband, because I have to take the whole session, the whole course, you know, to overcome, to deal with her phobia. Then after that, she didn't go back, and the psychiatrist will call her. So, why didn't you come, you know? Oh, now I solved my problems already. When I went back, I told my husband that I have this phobia, and my husband said, it's very easy. I just cut off the leg of the bed. get resolved. Get resolved. Don't have to so expensive. Don't have to go for this session, you know. Yeah, sometimes like, especially sometimes, because I have to deal with, doing counseling and listen to all this. Sometimes I really, really feel sorry for them. They have, you know, enormous suffering, mental suffering. And then, you know, just recently, not long ago, in March, I went to Sydney. We have a conference. We have this Australian Sangha Association's conference. Then we have a session that's someone from the online, you know, support that dealing with those suicide. So according to this, the statistic, you know, there's that mostly those suicide case, there are 60% men, and it's young men. From 16 to I think 30 or something. I forgot that is a statistic. One of the reasons because of I think part of the conditioning, you know, like, you know, said men shouldn't cry. You rather shed blood, not tears. And then you have a lot of pressure. You have to be strong, you know. And just imagine, then you have lots of suppression. You know, you have to be strong. You have to, you know, have to be seen to be macho, you know, I'm strong, you know. And there's actually a lot of, and then they will not, actually, that's why women have longer lifespan, because women just cry, you know. Women just like crying baby. They say, cry, and then actually when you cry, actually you resolve that emotion. You're not being suppressed, but because of you have to be seen that you're okay, and you feel that you don't want to let anyone know. You feel that because you have to show that you're strong. So there's like even I have 2 grandsons. So from young, we keep telling him that it's okay to cry. You know, it's just being human. You know, I have someone told me that her niece being told that the father told him that you cannot cry. The only time that you can cry when someone dies and someone's sick. If not, you are not allowed to cry. Then when she said, she laughed. It becomes like mentally, it's not healthy. She not be able to express herself. She should not be able to allow herself to even cry. Like, because when the parents visit, you know, her sister, you know, then when the parents, the grandparents leaving, of course she feels sad. But actually she feels sad. But because she's not allowed to cry, she laughs. But actually, I feel that's like we feel so sorry for the young one. You know, when grow up, become mentally unhealthy, lots of suppression, you know, and unresolved. And it's the younger you go through that, the more difficult you grow up to come out of it is very, very difficult. I can tell you it's almost the whole life. You have to live with that. And then there's sometimes people develop into certain like phobia or, and they kind of like some is really serious with those obsessive compulsive disorder. It's not like what, and then they have this chronic fatigue syndrome, and it's very difficult to deal with because we know when we deal with these people, and there's so much suffering, mental suffering, That's why we keep reinforce that, become counterproductive. So actually, you really have to look at it, and we develop into certain habitual pattern, and then especially when you become a habit, it's more difficult, and it's become an addiction. Just imagine addiction, it's very difficult to come out of it, isn't it? You see some drug addicts, they go to the rehab and they come out, they still go back again. Very difficult, The same thing, they have to go through this, and yeah, I can really see that how much suffering, especially when you deal with this and you have so much compassion and for them. Compassion is not like we've been, oh, poor thing, I pity you. No, compassion that you can feel the suffering of others. You understand the suffering of others, why the person behave in a certain way. That's why sometimes it's always good that we ask ourselves to try to put ourselves onto the other person's shoes. If I were that person, how do I react? How do I deal with that situation? We also might deal with the situation the same as that person. It's very easy that we judge others, how come this person behave in a certain way, why they have all this very weird behavior, And I know some people like lots of suppressions since they were young. They have to do things that they don't like. That means control, the parents, the father is very controlling and control her and want her to do what, and she's even sometimes have this psychosis syndrome, she have this, Sometimes she really sick, really feel sick, vomiting and really sick, make her sick. And sometimes it's quite serious, There's like, and there's sometimes like we think that why people do silly thing and they're stupid, And it's just like they just don't know a better way to deal with it. So there's a different level of mindfulness. So when someone know mindfulness, someone insane. So sometimes like you see when you read all the news, that some people they ended up killing someone because of this small thing, isn't it? I remember there was an incident that happened, I think quite a few months ago. There was in China. There was this guy went to have a haircut, and he was unhappy with the style, the haircut, and he went back to the hairdresser and argued with him, like complaining to the hairdresser, not happy with the haircut. And somehow they argue, and they have argument, fight, and he ended up kill this hairdresser. And then we would think that how stupid it is, isn't it? The hair can grow, isn't it? It's very quick, 1 or 2 weeks the hair grow. Why this person do that? But actually, the problem is not really come from the hairdresser. It's not really come from the hairstyle. Actually, sometimes we have already building up. Sometimes it's already cooking there. So sometimes that is only the trigger. We've been cooking up, and, someone come along, it's just like it's building up, then come to a certain extent that you cannot hold anymore. We keep holding it back, keep holding it back, and you explode. That person is like the one who lit the bomb. It's a trigger. It's not that because of that person, because of the haircut. It's not. It's been because not be able to aware, not be able to, they don't know. A lot of people don't even aware why they have reaction, why they have this agitation, why I'm so angry, they don't even know. So and then they keep and then they think that, oh, I shouldn't get angry. They keep suppress that, and then actually you it's making it worse. You reinforce that, and then it just explode. Then actually that moment, that person just insane. They just really don't know what they're doing. We have one of our devotees, both husband and wife, is both doctor. They live in Jerriton, and of course that she been abused by her husband, and she always keep quiet. Both doctors very young, in the early 30s, and she also just keep quiet, and she didn't seek for help, and actually she ended up she killed her husband. And actually how she killed her husband, she said she cannot remember. And she didn't know how she cannot recall, she don't remember how she did that. Because sometimes that moment you're just insane. You just don't know what you are doing. They say sometimes we think that we will not do such a thing. As long as the underlying tendency is there, given the condition is right, it comes out. Given the right condition, it comes out. Sometimes we think that we don't do it. As long as the underlying tendency is there, when the right condition, it comes out, isn't it? Yeah. It's yeah. That's why you have to practice. But I'm just saying, like ordinary people, how many people will really meditate? How many people really know they have to deal with that? Like I'm just saying, like in general.
But also, I don't know. I've heard something that some let's say children, let's say being abused, some can come up with it. Is it because their past?
Yes. Depends on individual karmic inheritance. You see, some people they're born that they can deal with things, they can cope with things, and some people just cannot handle, And it's just their karmic inheritance. And some people just born like they're naturally very kind and soft, and you don't even have to. Like for example, I have one of my devotees that her first daughter, very easy. She's bring it up, and she brought up, and she's been so proud that she was thinking that she was such a wonderful mother. How well she bring up her daughter, until she gave birth to the second one, the son. Wow, she's really having headache. Then she realized that it's not because of her upbringing, it's just the karmic inheritance. That's just because of she realized actually her daughter just easy to bring up, because she got an autistic son. It's very difficult. So it's also partly the karmic inheritance, That's why I told people, I've seen sometimes we have monster parents, we have beautiful children. Sometimes we have beautiful parents and monster. We have sometimes we have beautiful parents, monster children. It's true, and partly also because of the karmic inheritance, that they've been. To be able to cope with that, Some people not be able to cope with that. That's why it's important that, that we develop our mind, We other thing we cannot take with us, but our quality of mind, the karma that stay with us, that we can take it to our next life. There's like the conditioning is very strong. It's very difficult to come out. That's why sometimes we think that we think that we make our choice, and actually we are not. We just like an automatic pilot. We just follow our conditioning, our habit, and we keep doing it. Like for example, sometimes we've been bombarded by all these advertisements. Sometimes we think you make the choice. No. You've been told, you've been bombarded, keep telling you how good it is, you should have one. Isn't it? Then you think that you should have one, That's why not long ago someone asked me, That because he said, oh, one of the Ajahn told me that, it's all conditioning and no will. It's not that you're making the choice. So how am I going to change? How am I going to make my choice? If it's just conditioning, how can I change? I said, you can't. So he looked at me. I said, until you be able to see that. Sometimes you'll not be able to see that. You cannot change. You cannot make any change until you have the clarity. You can see your certain habitual pattern. Then you don't react to that. You restrain yourself. You develop your mind. You have to have the clarity in order to see that. Because some of those is very subtle. We don't even know that we are doing it. Like automatic pilot, we just all default setting. Yes?
Let's say if somebody who died, and then this person is a very proud man, very high ego and all these things, will he bring his ego to the next life or not?
It's just that person karmic inheritance. Yeah.
There's a potential there.
The potential. You have a certain, the traits is there. It's just, like for example, when the rebirth, it's just like it's not the same person. It's just like, you have this the mango from this mango tree, so it drops, and then you planted this mango, it's grow into another mango tree, so you got another mango. And this mango actually is not exactly the same as this mango, but they have connection. If the connection is there, the continuity is there, because for example, if this is come from a sour mango trees, so you got the seed is sour, so it's more likely that you got a sour mango. You will not have a sweet mango. Practice now. Don't wait till next. Don't wait till next life. That's why I have someone having this problem. She keep running away, and she said, "Oh, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. Oh, run away." And I speak to her. I said, "Look," I said, "it's better off you have to face it now. You deal with it now. Next life, no guarantee that you have the condition that you need. Like now, you'll be able to do it. You even have someone to guide you. You'll be able to deal with it. It's unpleasant, but so once you get over, it's just like when people go to the rehab, any addiction, yes, when you withdraw, that time is loss of suffering. But once you got over, you're fine. It's just like the Buddha said, some of the things that we do it, we suffer now, we will be happy in the future. Some of the things that, you're happy, we do it, like for example, we reinforce our greed, we can get what we want, we can get what we want, we are happy, but we reinforce that leads us to more suffering. But if we restrain ourselves, yes, you suffer now, but you're free. You're not bound by that anymore. So I said, look, at the beginning, yes, I tell the person, okay, I just give you some time, some space, because certain things that she try not to do, she thinks of, for example, like she doesn't want to be the one like if it's chaperoning me, she's going out, then whenever she has to speak to people, then she doesn't want. I said, but everyone have the duty. If you're being asked to do something, you have to fulfill your duty. So if people coming in here, you have to deal with that. You are not coming here to run away from the world, to run away from things outside. You don't have to deal with it. You are not coming here. That's why I told all the nuns, you are not coming here to the monastery to run away from things. Then this is not the right place for you. You are not coming here to hide yourself like, oh, I don't have to deal with the world. No, you have to deal with it. You have to look at it. Because people supporting us, whatever we use, we are living on we are depending on the generosity of the lay supporter. So I said, you have to deal with it. And I told her, and she really scared. I said, if you don't deal with it now, I said, how long you going to escape? How long you going to run away? I said, I'm already giving you, time and space. Sometimes I let you be. If you want to go, I don't force you to go. But there is a limit. Eventually, you have to fulfill your duty. Certain duty, you need to do it. I said, you have to face it. I said, if you don't face it now, there's no guarantee next life whether you have the condition that you need to deal with this emotion. And then she realized that. I said, you better off deal with it now. I said, if you don't deal with it, it's still there, and you carry over to your next life. And then next life, you might not have the condition that you need to deal with that. So that's like, this whole path of practice is about, actually, is looking into ourselves, to understand ourselves, to investigate. So the more we understand ourselves, the more we can understand others, have compassion towards others, to understand that because of the conditioning, because of how, we understand that how the mind works, why this person, behave in a certain way, you can understand your own mind. Then you'll be able to understand the mind of others, and you have to develop that. First of all, you have to develop the clarity, to be able to see that. Where is our, be able to see our certain habitual pattern, that we prone to certain things. But most people, if the mindfulness is not strong enough, you don't even know that it's there. You just know that you suffer, you just know that you're overwhelmed by that suffering, that emotion, but you don't know why you have that, and you don't know how to deal with it. So that we are very lucky that, we still, have the teaching, the practice, then we still have this able body, and to be able to do that, to have the opportunities, to have the condition that we need to do it. And some people just don't even have the chance, even hear the teaching, even hear the words, even Buddha, isn't it? They just keep going, keep reinforcing, and keep doing the same thing, like a default setting. And it's very difficult to come out of it. So that's why we make the most of it while we got it, that you have the opportunities to practice, and especially still healthy, still relatively young. So our definition young is when you're 60, you're still young. I remember when I was a teenager, 30 years old is old, Then I grow older, also my standard just change, drop, So when 50, still a spring chicken. Yeah, so so make the most of it. Sometimes the postman do knock twice. Sometimes don't miss the boat. We got it. And so don't worry about how long you have to work with it. Take it one moment at a time, one step at a time, one day at a time. Because no point for us to worry about how long it's going to take. Then actually no one knows, but at least we know that this moment that we are happy, bring our mind back to this moment. If you're happy and at ease and at peace in this moment, you're more likely to be happy next and the next and the next. So take one moment at a time. At least I have this moment, a moment of peace. There's some people say, it's difficult. Difficult to meditate. I have no time. I can't do this. I can't do that. So I asked the person, do you have one moment? Just stop yourself one moment. Just to be at ease and at peace with yourself at one moment. He said, 1 moment I can do that. So I said, at least if you do 1 moment, at least you have 1 moment of peace. Rather than throughout your whole life, you don't even have 1 moment of peace. Isn't it? So it's easier, isn't it? And then you have 10 moments, you have at least 10 moments of peace. You know? So yeah, just take it, one moment at a time, one day at a time. So it's easier that way. Don't worry so much how long it takes, Just keep bringing your mind back to this moment and to keep developing your clarity. As your mind become more and more still, more and more clarity, you'll be able to see the more and more subtle defilements. Because if our mindfulness is not strong enough, we are unable to see those defilements that is really subtle. Because we haven't got the clarity, we can't see that, we can't see it. And then it's difficult to change if we can't see. Unless we be able to see, unless we develop the clarity that, okay, yes, we need to change. So I offer this Dharma reflection. May this teaching be of benefit to all of you. So any questions or comments? Okay. You Tong, any deep question? Okay.
No. I don't want to. I dare not attack my wife. Later become family therapy. No, I think just a remark on the suicide. I think it's the same thing also as well in Singapore. The suicide rate for male is higher than female. The number of people who attempted suicide are equal for both men and women. But somehow, men tends to be more successful in killing themselves than women. Yeah, at least something that men do better than women. When they decided to die, they sure die. Am I right, Olivia? Is that the statistics, right? Yeah.
Sometimes women, they just like to say, I want to divorce, Actually, they're not really, what they said is not actually what they think,
Yes. Because I think for women, they got more outlets. They got more outlets when they are sad. They got friends to talk to, and for guys, it tends to keep to themselves.
Yeah.
And then they don't tell people when they want to suicide, and they are very successful in killing themselves.
Yeah. Because they don't open up themselves easily. And also, actually, sometimes when I look at it, last time I remember early days, I was thinking, why I've been born as a woman? Oh, so difficult for me. I want to ordain. I can't find place to go. And I so envy men that can just ordain, Then after that, I realized that there's a lot of advantages being a woman.
Yeah, and also the suicide rate are higher for the younger one, I think below 30, and the other one is at above 60. Yeah. So between 30 to 60, the suicide rate is low.
Almost the same because
almost flat. Yeah. So below 30, the spikes, and the other spikes at above 60 years old.
Yeah, it's also from 16 to 30. I remember the statistic, and when I was in Sydney, we have we have a session, and it's all male. I mean, male is higher the percentage. Yeah. We have sometimes we have male calling, to ask for counseling, and normally I want to pass them to the Bodhiana. I said, why not you talk to the monks? He said, no, I don't want to talk to the monks. I want a female teacher. I don't want a male teacher. I think somehow maybe they feel more comfortable. Like female is like more mildly and more soft, gentle. Because sometimes in front of another man, they have to be, tough, and very difficult for them to open up. When maybe come to female, they feel more like, they feel the female is the more have the gentleness, and they feel like it's like a more motherly, they have the comfort, that they feel that they be able to open up themselves much more than to talk to a monk. Yeah, I was saying, oh yeah, I know, do you know there is a monk's monastery? I said, oh God. He said, no, I don't want male teacher, I want female teacher. Yeah. So
well, at least we know female do something better. Any more question?
Yeah.
Not sure whether we can do something to pull out this. Let's say if our loved one is having all these, problems. I don't know whether and then the person doesn't have any clarity, or why angry or whatever, and
Yeah,
as a
do
family
as much as we could to give them the more support, encouragement, and love. It's why it's very important, if there's any parents here, really look after your children's mental health. It's really, really important, because so difficult to come out of it. I remember one of my devotees told me when she was young, every morning when she went to school, she go past a railway track. Sometimes there's a train go past, and her mother used to tell her, "Okay, be good." She was from London. "Okay, be good. If you're a good girl, you will see the train." Whenever she can't see the train, she was very upset because she's not a good girl. Because the mother said that, if you're a good girl, you see the train. So then she can't see the train. She's not a good girl. She's very upset because she's not a good girl. They say sometimes be careful what you said to your children, because they're just, and even now she grown up, she becomes quite difficult, like quite a lot of agitation and anger. And then her husband also ran away from her, and I can feel a lot of suffering in her too, And actually, and this lady, how she comes to Buddhism, because she have lots of anger, lots of aversion, and a lot of suppression, and she ended up her whole body, lots of pain, physical pain, and she went all check-up, X-ray, MRIs, all the checkup, nothing's wrong with her, but she was in pain. Then they have to refer her to a psychiatrist, and this psychiatrist is one of our devotees, and also he was the ex-president of the Buddhist Society, and he's the one who introduced her to meditation, and then eventually she became a Buddhist, because it's really helped her with meditation to help her a lot with her bodily pain. She had lots of physical pain because of the tension, because of the suppression that the body, you tense up. We can feel when you have anxieties, you try to pay attention to your body, you can feel that lots of tension in your body. Whenever you have anxieties, you pay attention, you feel your whole body tense up. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Then she said this is how she come to Buddhism, and then she started to meditate and help her relieve. She said so much pain, and until she do all sorts of checkup, all sorts of things, until they couldn't find out what's wrong with her, but she complaining that she's really in pain. So she ended up saying, yeah, okay. But sometimes it's good that we talk about it. I think sometimes people think, oh, yeah, mental problem. We all have it to a certain extent. So don't worry. Actually, it's good to open, to talk about that, to look at it. If it doesn't mean that we don't talk about it, it's not there. It's good to be just open and talk about it, And also, actually, it's mental health, because we just focus so much about physical health, but we neglect mental health, especially a lot of, I don't know, even 10 years old, 11 years old said they're depressed. Oh, I'm depressed. I said, what? Depressed. So this is, actually, it's very easy. It just gives them lots of love. All they need is that. It's not expensive branded thing. Children don't know, isn't it? Actually, what they need your love. They need your care. Give them lots of love. If someone grow up with lots of love and care, they're naturally happy. It's naturally happy person. And yeah, it's just that sometimes it's been neglected. And especially sometimes they into these computer games, My goodness.
Well, maybe for brothers and sisters who may have relatives who are depressed or children who are depressed, our former President N.G. Chew has set up Brahm Center to have a healthier and happier living. And I think they provide free counseling service or just charge a very, very nominal sum based on affordability, because it's also an IPC. So, yes, they are very good counselors, and they do provide very good service. And from there, they have many cases of children commit suicide. The day the ball don't bounce. Yeah. Okay, that is a bit of digression. Sorry, Venerable.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, if we have sometimes said, that because the depression come from that, because of your mind is very stressed. That's why we have to look after our stress level. When our stress level go up, that is how you have to stop. Don't keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and it's just drain. They say, what is the difference between mind and brain? Mind actually, the brain actually is like, the brain is our whole nervous system. It's just like the CPU, So all our skill is just like our app, okay? Then, then our app, and then we all on default setting. Actually, mind is the energy, it's a battery. So when we just keep using the battery, we just stress out. We're not charging it. So when we develop like a positive emotion, like gratitude, appreciations, all these spiritual qualities, actually we can see that we have lots of joy and happiness. Actually, we are charging our battery. So don't let your battery run flat. So you have to keep charging. And this is how when we develop these spiritual qualities, actually this is the energy. The mind is the energy, you keep it giving. Because sometimes when you're in low energy, you can't think properly, isn't it? Your mind just your brain just doesn't work, There's like, you develop these spiritual qualities, So when we meditate, we're happy, because of we being so busy, our mind is just very draining, especially the thinking. The thinking itself actually is very draining. Actually, just doing anything is less draining of our mind and the mental energy. But thinking about it, worrying about it, like worry, that part actually is use up lots of energy. It's very draining, and you feel tired. And also like nowadays, not like in olden days, now they have lots of things to be able to indulge in your sensory pleasure. When you indulge in your sensory pleasure, actually that like the happiness you get is like borrowed, And then actually after that you have to pay back plus interest. And then you suffer later. Then you feel tired. The mind is constantly, you just feel tired. So like other like qualities, they said, the Buddha said there's two kinds of happiness: wholesome happiness and unwholesome happiness. Unwholesome happiness is that happiness that they come from the sensory pleasure, come from the indulgence of our senses. That is unwholesome, because this kind of happiness is very fleeting. That leads you to more suffering. You want more and more, and you can never fulfill. And the wholesome happiness is the happiness come from calming the mind, come from meditation, come from giving something. We're helping someone. Yeah, yes, I agree, totally agree with you. So
Sarah Serena said, if you all didn't hear.
yeah, that you when you're giving, you give something, and that's also that also helps, and this. The Buddha said that when you give, you feel happy, isn't it? So this kind of happiness leads you to peace and calm. Like keeping the precept, being a virtuous person, you feel good about yourself. You don't have that. You don't carry the guilt. You don't have that remorse. So you have non-remorse. Then and it's easy to meditate. Then and your mind become peaceful. The happiness comes from meditation. And this kind of happiness, the Buddha encourages, it's okay not to afraid of this kind of happiness. Because this kind of happiness is independent. It's not dependent on something else. Not dependent on something outside us. And this kind of happiness leads us to peace and calm. But the other kind of happiness that leads you to more suffering. And it's really very draining. Use up lots of mental energy. So any more questions? Yes.
Okay.
How can we correct someone who holds strongly to wrong views?
Okay. Oh, it's difficult to correct. Actually, sometimes we can only do our best, and because each one, they have their own karma. And it's just like, for example, like we talk about, like yesterday we talked about that girl come to me for help, like with drugs problem. I said, normally, unless the person come to me, they have the trust in me, the faith in me, then they tends to open up more, they tends to be more receptive. So if people have very strong views, they close up. They just close up. That's why sometimes if we think we know, actually we close up. So if we don't know, actually our mind is more open. Because when we think we know, we close up ourselves. So when it's okay that we don't know. When we don't know, actually we learn more. Because we are more open. We close ourselves up. If we think that you know better than anyone, then we close ourselves up. That's why this is the difficult part, That's why you see Angulimala, he can get enlightened. That's why if you read one of the books that the Buddha's, embracing, what I've forgotten the Brahmajala Suttas, that one, that different and the different views, That's Brahmajala Sutta. That is the kind how the Buddha said people hold on to the views, very strongly. And then it's difficult, you can't go in, you won't listen. Even the Buddha in front of you also, you will not. That's why the Buddha said, like, there's if someone have these very strong fixed views, it's very difficult to get enlightened. Because you are not open, you can't. So that's why sometimes I notice that sometimes people tend to take things in the wrong way. Like, for example, when we said that it's not that when we said we have to open doesn't mean that we just blindly just listen to whatever people said, So that we leave it open, so we don't simply believe nor simply not to believe. Sometimes people can, I don't believe anything. It's not. But not simply believe nor not believing. So leave it open. So when we leave it open, there are more possibility. Any more questions or comments?
Okay, sister. Any more questions? No? No more question? Okay. No more question. Then will Ramna lead us in the
just
closing?
share merits.
Yes.